to HPD contracting for the Ammon Road project. The deduct of, I can't remember the exact amount, of like $66,000 deduct.
$66,000 and $39. Signatures on the page of everything else on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I like signing my pages.
I'll make a motion to accept the deduction for quantity reductions on the Ammon Road widening from Forest Group Associates, as requested by Forest Group Associates.
I'll second.
I'll get that back to them, and I have their final pay application as we're on the long process next week. The next is a discussion about the fuel alignment at the city of Idaho Falls. You wanted to talk a little bit about the agreement or the bid that Idaho Falls had submitted. I had forwarded that to the commissioners. The bids that they received after the failed bid was $315,055.53. In the information that had been presented earlier last year on the 26th of November, commissioners signed an amendment to the joint fuel facility agreement. Basically said that we would pay half of what those bids were. The city of Idaho Falls in July of last year had committed to spend up to $160,000 on a canopy. They had also agreed that in the upcoming fiscal year, they would put aside funds for a tank fuel expansion at their facility, which would nearly double the capacity of the fuel. Right now, it is 61,000, and it would go to 121,000 total.
Carl's trying, excuse me, Lance, sorry, Carl's trying to join by Zoom.
Say the teams, but
Sorry, I feel bad.
Okay.
leave it hanging.
So that amendment was signed the 26th of November, 2024. Again, the city had committed in the current fiscal year to spend up to 160,000, which is pretty close to what the bid amount would be if they paid half. If you took the current bid from Millennium Petroleum, 50% of that is $157,527.
Well, we expected.
That wasn't the city's budget for this year, too. They budgeted that amount to be able to pay that.
I don't know if they have it in a position that they could actually pay Leonard Petroleum to get it done out of the current year's budget.
And we had offered to do that up front and have them pay us when it was in their budget.
Yeah,
Do so if that needed to be spent earlier, so.
Can you send me or send Ashley and she can put it in our red folder, the document that the agreement, because Carl and I weren't here for that agreement, so we don't know about it.
They have it in their documents. I actually got the signed version from Heidi.
Okay, so I don't.
This is an amendment to the joint fuel and facility agreement.
Do you know where it's at? I don't see it in my red folder. No, it's not there.
It's exhibit in the commissioner meeting minutes. It's exhibit number 274-24. Book 39, page 423. So that amendment also went through again, they're supposed to budget for a fuel expansion in the upcoming budget. I have not heard from the city of Idaho Falls whether they actually put that into their budget.
Did you talk to Pam Alexander?
No, you tell me you would let her know what was gonna be discussed.
No, I asked you to talk to her and the email.
In the email, you said you would talk to her. I thought that's what it said.
I can't get my computer to come on.
I can't reach out to her and talk to her, but I did not because your email to me said that you would let her know. Okay, I've got it here. It does, will you let Pam? I read it wrong. I'm sorry.
Sure. Email on this.
Yeah. It's.
What would you like me to tell Pam?
I don't have any information, Lance. I've got the document you sent to me with the bid. I don't have the MOU, so I don't know. I can't talk to them because I don't know what even this is yet. And I'm having trouble getting into my computer.
Laptops, unplugged from the docking station, and then one with Wi-Fi.
Do you know what?
Your network is the same as the one using there, supposed to be.
No, I didn't. Is it?
Yeah.
That's not really your job, but.
The city has 375,000 in their budget for 2026. Or 275,000 is the canopy and then 100,000 for the expanded fuel tank design.
I've got it for this year's budget.
Yeah,
The upcoming
for 26, so I'm coming. Yeah, and the 275 was a rollover from the electric gas.
Because I can't get into.
And that's why they get.
You two are time Thursday.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just trying to get it anyway. Sounds good.
Yeah, let's do
I thought it was connected. It was connected. I got off the internet, but then it's like, yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
And I tried to do my password for last year.
on managing anything for anything over 5,000. It is an act.
Has to be a piece of paper.
4 out of 5 times.
Information right on it. Just not this time.
And then it's very.
We're
not going to do that.
I don't know if I can get into my email because
It's fair.
Yeah.
You read that?
I probably won't.
I didn't identify it. As the next thing.
It's not on the
We didn't go to some food for lunch and gouge them. Don't get the gals, maybe we have to get some food for lunch tomorrow.
Most of it isn't on my diet, relationship.
We stopped on the way back to Utah too in the fair yesterday.
So basically, we
I'll
would,
make it.
anything over 5,000, we have to have an action item to expend the money. So basically, we need a motion to be able to pay for our half, and in the event that the city can't pay for theirs right now, that we would pay for it all and get reimbursement from the city of Idaho Falls.
so what do we need to do today?
So I'm gonna move the approve the expenditure of the agreed upon funds as stated in previous documentation with the city of Idaho Falls with regards to the awning over the fueling station.
And expansion.
The expansion, we don't have an amount.
Okay. So please look at that.
Okay,
And that's the November that's the November 14,
November 26th.
November 6th.
26th.
20.
So then really all we probably need to let Pam know is that the commissioners have approved the expenditure for the bid, and then they can move forward and
When is there
have the details.
city council that they're going to talk about that? So it would be nice if one of us could be there.
They have one coming up on September 16th, is it?
yeah, that's,
I
And
thought it was here.
And-
Okay.
let me just make sure.
I don't know, but it really is.
if I let Sam know by the end of the week, she could get it on the agenda.
It says our next city council meeting is Thursday, September 11th, and I will need to submit a council memo no later than September 4th. So you can tell her that, give her the go ahead for what we've agreed to in the agreement.
Okay.
And then we're all in on the expansion too, aren't we?
Yeah.
Of the fuel tanks. We don't have an agreement on it, but
We have the same agreement covered that we would participate in that in the 2025-2026 budget year.
That we reserve.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Set aside.
okay, so you'll let Pam know that.
I,
Okay, now. Stop us really, but I'll say.
They'll find a simple solution to that.
Do we know what the,
Dark sky?
That's where I'm at.
do we know what the total amount is that we have in reserves across all the lighting districts? Do you have that number?
I didn't bring it with me now.
That's fine. I'm having
Like
lunch
that-
today with the new Rocky Mountain Power Director, Nathan Gordon, him moved to a different area, so he's in. But I'm gonna talk to him today because they wanted us to do that upgrade, you know, the 300,000 to LED lights, but I was gonna ask him. I don't even know if this is a possibility. We'd have to ask legal, but if there's some way that we could get all the districts to release what we have in reserves to Rocky Mountain Power, if then they would be willing to take over the maintenance of all of our existing lights. He might straight up tell me no, but I think it's at least worth asking and trying to get them there. Because then all that we would have to worry about for any of our lighting districts would be the power cost. So that's what I'm gonna talk to him about today, but I don't know how far.
Yeah,
it will go.
and I don't know about the transferring of that money to Brockman Power from that. I mean,
Well,
that'd be a little interesting.
Because it's a district, you would have to get each one of the districts to vote and release the funds, I'm sure.
We are the,
Well, the districts did not approve to have that space anyway. Does that make sense?
It's just for that area.
Right.
So that's probably a question for me.
Yeah.
I'll get some ideas from him today and see if they're even interested. And then if
Yep.
that's it.
That would be
Yes,
great.
we will, then we need to go to legal and say, okay, this is what we talked to our town power about, how to make this happen.
Make this happen.
Be awesome.
So that's.
And if it's a hard no, maybe I'll talk to him tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit him up tomorrow when he meets with him.
I got a question.
Then you
He's
can
gotta
get
open it
next
up
thing,
totally
right?
separate.
I mean, the transition to the lights has to happen, no matter what we do.
Yeah,
What do you mean the transition to the light?
To the, switch to the LEDs, because they don't even have,
High pressure sodium.
but that's why I would think as part of that, if we can work something out for them to take over maintenance when we do the switch, it would be worth it.
Rochelle,
Make our lives
how much trouble is it for you to find that number?
I'm looking right now.
Oh, you can find it right away.
Yeah, because I had emailed David.
Your screen. Next.
I think that way, at least if we know we don't, I mean, one way or another, either we have an option with Rocky Mountain or we don't, then we know that we need to do something on our own, but I think it's worth asking the question first before we make any hard commitments to the new solution.
So what else do you guys need from us? Do we want to find out what he says before we do anything else, or? What do you
What
think?
information did you have today, Rochelle?
Well, so I had sent you guys, I forwarded you an email also, regarding lighting district 113.
I'm looking at that now because we were already in meetings by the time that came in.
So that lighting district was under, when we set it up under Teton Communications, something that now has been replatted to Riviera, which is in the city of Ammon.
Right.
So I know David had sent an email to the city of Ammon, and Micah came back saying, we're gonna have to talk with legal to see about dissolving that lighting
Yeah.
district. But we have 10 light poles in that lighting district. And I think it's 54 parcels that have not been, we had collected money, but we haven't.
Really?
That's where
That's
that's
not
not
happening. Well, that's what we need money to have and let them deal with it.
happening.
Or Rocky Mountain Power, if that's belongs to the board, so.
Yeah, that's about.
But do we have statutory, do we have the ability to actually hand money over to somebody like Rocky Mountain Power? Legally, how would that?
I think
It would
that's
have
what
to
we
come
need
out of
to
the
do.
company's budget.
This. I don't like.
I mean, the money that's set aside in each one of these lighting districts is specific to
Yeah, fine.
that lighting district, so it's specific to the maintenance of the lights. So if the agreement you put together was just to take the money that we've collected for maintenance, because we're turning over the maintenance, I would think there's probably a way we could get through that, but
I wonder if they would continue to keep track of that, you know?
I don't think so. I think they would roll it all into one fund and just say,
Yeah.
we're gonna provide the maintenance now,
Yeah,
which if they do, that doesn't go back to the homeowner.
and if it was a tax, it would be one thing, but this is a maintenance thing, it's not. I would think that potentially would work because, again, it's not a tax, it's not like tax dollars, we've collected the, you know.
No, it's the established commissioners for the lighting district. Authority for it.
It's got like lighting districts, but I'm looking at one and it's like, this is, I know he thinks it's a more fair way to change, to spread the cost around. But there's no way to really keep up with development. I mean, one of these is mostly pilot gas stations, so, pilot and co-leasing. So I would guess that's one, District 6, 4 things in it. And it looks like it's probably all commercial property. And what are we doing there? And then I'm looking,
Honestly, I don't think that that's even one that has, any expenditures out of it.
yet, or ever, or will never,
It hasn't ever.
and will it, but will it?
If they I don't think that any power poles were ever placed out there.
That I'm not sure about. That's
The
been in
Anderson-
place for a long time.
There was an issue that we had with lighting district number 5, I think it was, and
What year was that?
oh gosh, too long ago. I don't remember. If I could bring up my email, I would, but I brought up my email, but I can't find my sent folder. So
What?
if somebody knows how to find my sent folder.
I think
What?
number 5.
Which one? Cause I'm looking at,
It's probably been in place over 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
says year modified 2016 is all I see on my document. And that too looks like it's, I mean, I don't know. And then I'm looking at lighting district 12, which is in my neighborhood. And the properties that are there are on the outside of a road that feeds into a new little tiny subdivision with 6 or 8 houses in it. And so you got, these houses inside this road that are not on here. I don't know if they have any lighting poles there, but they're driving that road and walking that road all the time. It's the only way in and out of their subdivisions. So all those houses are part of that one little loop subdivision. There's probably 6, 8 houses in there, and they're not on this lighting district. It's just the ones on the outer part.
They use the light, they don't pay for it.
Right. So, and my guess is that it was because those homes, that subdivision was built later. After this lighting district was
Yeah.
made.
And that probably is the case, but as new plots come in, planning and zoning typically goes through those and decide whether a lighting district needs to be there or not. And if so, that's when the lighting district is created, at the time they do the final plat of development agreement.
It's real.
Yeah, we need a new solution, but
Yeah.
let me talk to Rocky Mountain today.
Yeah, and I think if we discuss, I mean, if you're talking about Rocky Mountain taking all those funds. We talked about putting everything in a pool for here, and it's like, if you can do that, why can't we do it here? If by some chance we could work it out with Rocky Mountain, because that certainly be the best thing is to take it off our, plate with them taking it over, but if not, if we could have, if it wasn't a problem to combine those funds, I don't know why you can't do it
We
here.
had that discussion, Scott did not say it could not be done. He said, I will look into how that, he doesn't like it.
And the thing that just keeps coming to me is like, nobody can remember, there's only 2 times we've had to use that for polls. And they're just talking a lot of time and energy on something that doesn't happen very often. And when it does, it doesn't cost very much, you know what I'm saying? It's like kind of frustrating to.
Yes,
So is this money used to pay the power bill too?
Some of the money's used to pay power bills, isn't it, Rochelle?
is that in a separate?
Some of the funds that are collected are certainly are.
Yes, the funds that we collect through the property taxes are what pay the power bill for the previous year.
The maintenance?
The maintenance is something that I've already had a base amount for. However, except for the 2 lighting districts that we've just had issues with, one of them had enough in the base to cover that. The other one was nowhere near.
But the amount of money that we collect
So
on the
much better
tax,
maintenance.
it pays for the power and it pays for the.
So it's not just the power, it's not
It's
just,
not just the maintenance.
But they're tracked separately, right, Rochelle?
Correct.
Yeah, they are, but it's.
So they're tracked
it's not just the poles. It's
So
And
we currently have $122,200 that
Total.
total for all lighting districts that we have a base amount for.
that's the maintenance base.
Correct.
What I understood Scott say last time, after we had heard Rochelle say how the rubber hits the road, is that we can borrow, like, you can borrow money from the big lighting district to pay for the little lighting district's poles and then pay it back over as many years as we want. Isn't that kind of where we ended up last time?
Well, I think that it's borrowing basically from the county, from our general fund is what it's paying, it, not necessarily from another lighting district. Because the county is the one that is paying everything upfront and then getting reimbursed from those property owners within the boundaries of that lighting district.
I'd say if Rocky Mountain Power can't come up with a way to do it, and if we can just do that, make a lot, ones that have fewer items in it, spread their repayment back for a longer period of time, and, you know.
But if they're willing to take $122,000 to convert everything over to them and they're the ones taking care of it,
Is that what we have?
Yeah, 122,000, I mean, that could be kind of appealing too.
Then how do we pay for the power?
But
we would still charge them for the power, each one of those lighting districts. It's just, we wouldn't be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of those power
Steve,
poles.
I would think if you get down to just power, that's an easier conversation to have, to just have everybody under one big umbrella, because realistically, it's probably gonna be about the same, especially if everything's converted to LED.
Well, they charge a higher rate for that LED light than what they charge for the other sodium.
They should. It actually costs them probably less than
than
running.
the sodium.
Right, but then they're the ones that are paying for the maintenance, the upkeep of that lighting district.
Again, you're talking two separate.
I'm just talking about the power, so if Rocky Mountain Power says we'll take all the maintenance, if we could work something out with them, so then we're left with, we just have to pay the power bill for each one of these lighting districts, then I think it would be pretty easy to take everybody who's part of the lighting district and just say, this is your portion of power for the year.
Well, I still think that we have to break it out by lighting district. Because there's more parcels, more lights in lighting district 1 than there is in lighting district 28. So how fair is it to
But I
assess?
think over the long run, I think it's gonna be about the same. For some people, it's.
So we don't even have a lighting district. Can we just combine them all into one lighting district?
Well, that's,
If all we're doing is their power, then
that's the
that
end
makes
question.
more sense.
So if we
So
get the
last-
statements out.
I would suggest that we maybe make the offer as will cover the cost of switching them all to LED, which is what, $300,000?
Yeah.
And if we can transfer the funds we have in maintenance, so that then they take all of that over.
Yeah,
But
that's,
I think.
That'd be,
I was telling Bill,
that'd be a
we'll
good
cover
growth for you,
what's
so
down these servers.
I think, you know,
Right,
it would be great for us too, so.
Okay,
okay, I'll let you know what I find
Thank
out
you.
with them at lunch today, and then once I talk to him, I'll let you guys know, and we can go from there on how we wanna proceed, so.
That'd be great if we can do that, you know, so it should be a good deal for them if they're getting $122,000 to fixtures that don't happen very often. That's financial sense for them, but it takes it off our plate, you know.
Austin, can you be legal and either talk about it today or next week after we talk to
I'm
him.
coming over today.
Yeah, you might, maybe wait till next week.
It'll be after lunch, but I'm just gonna see what he says. I'm just gonna blanket it as I don't know what all the county's possibilities are. We're just trying to find a solution, so I want to talk to you about options.
Yep.
And if he can commit to me that we think this will work, then I'll come back and explore it. But
So-
And he may have other options too.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Should we when should we get this on the calendar again? 2 weeks from today? 3 weeks?
Yeah.
I think we could probably do it next week, cause I'll go to lunch with him 11:30 and then I come over to Eagle this afternoon, so. Just put it on for next Tuesday again, and then I'll fill you guys in before then, so you know what's happening and where it's all at.
good.
Thanks.
Just one more question.
Yeah.
As far as the, penalties and interest, were we gonna talk about that today at legal or?
Well, we were also going to discuss assessing,
Oh, what we are.
a percentage. If this doesn't work out with the lighting districts, talking about a percentage, you had asked me to get total valuations for each one of the lighting districts, which I had
Right,
emailed a
I've got
copy
it.
to
I'm
you.
looking at it
So
now in our meeting, just.
anyway, so that was another thing that we had talked about is assessing a percentage to each one of those lighting districts based on what their total value was. To make up, if the event that Rocky Mountain Power says that's not a deal for us, we're not gonna go for that. That was the option that we had talked about to pad the base value that we have on, or excuse me, the base amount that we've collected for each one of the lighting districts.
Maybe we can discuss that next week after we kind of learn more.
Right, so on that, you'll see on the spreadsheet that I sent you, it will have the total number of units, which is the total number of parcels that we have, and then the total value that we have.
Does that,
Here's Scott Hall right here. He's in lighting district 33.
There you go.
so would that similar conversation, Rochelle, carry over to penalties and interest and us? You're talking.
No,
about each-
this is a percentage of, they talked about adding a percentage to the total valuation of each one of those lighting districts to try to increase that base amount that we have for each one of the lighting districts for maintenance and upkeep. But if Rocky Mountain Power agrees to accepting that, what you're going to present, then it's not even worth talking about.
All right, we'll wait till next week.
Yeah.
We'll be part of it next week.
I had texted him 2 weeks ago, but because of the switch over with Tim and everything, it took me a minute to get an actual appointment scheduled with him, so.
Is Kathy Braybeck gone to now?
She's still there, I believe.
Yeah, I think she's still there.
She's just not, well, Nathan Carden and Tim were at a higher level than Kathy.
Right, Kathy's the person that I deal with mostly.
Tim was the area director for our area, now Tim's the area director for our area, so I'm just gonna, like I said, present him with some stuff and try to get some ideas, and maybe we don't get anywhere, but maybe we do. Hopefully we do, I guess.
We'll go. We're,
So if they change us all over to the LED lights, are they also going to reduce the amount that we're paying?
That is a question that we
All
don't
that,
have.
I mean, that's that today.
Yeah, that
All the
would be a
hard
good-
stuff, and when they change over to the LED, my guess is they're gonna have to redo some of their wiring and stuff anyways, so that's why I'm like, well, you know, it's upgraded into. Okay, then why would you not accept your maintenance, you know,
Right. I know, I think it'd be perfect.
so, yeah, I'll let you know.
Thank you
Is that
guys.
what we're discussing? And then are we talking about penalty and interest of the legal counsel today or? So the penalty and interest.
Yeah.
Did we have open discussions on that then, or we were waiting?
Yeah. On the penalty and interest, no, that doesn't have to be in legal. That was
Sure question about penalties and interest.
how we were going to be paying those out. There was one question that we had talked about.
Yeah, I need to do that. Okay.
Okay, so we'll just table that maybe for,
You have figures though of what you think we owe everybody.
well, Ron has that because I emailed it to him. I brought over what the total amount, this was good through the June. That's from the time that we started withholding till now. This is the amount that is the county's portion. Plus this. Plus the hauling fee.
It's not going to be. I'm not gonna know what this is if you're not here to interpret it, so,
So I'm not going to leave it.
yeah, if you wanna send it with an explanation, or if Ron has it, then it's full, but.
I had sent to Ron a text message, but he's not feeling well today, so he's not going to be here.
Plus, I'm not sure we were gonna discuss that in this meeting anyway, so.
Yeah, it's not on the.
But we had talked about this question.
And,
We'll send it to Ron and CCU so that it's now that the budget's over, we can start.
Yeah, so let us know on that.
But I do need to know about the lighting districts as soon as possible because I do need to get that presented to the Board of Commissioners for the approval to add those on to the tax roll.
I think we'll have you hopefully some pretty good direction by the end of the day after I talk to Rocky Mountain and go and we can talk about it later. So.
All good. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Okay, thanks.
I won't be here.
Wade, did you have anything? I don't think.
or did you just come because you wanted to be really amused?
Well, it's good to see your bright faces. No, I had just a couple of things just to make the commissioners and some staff aware. We are taking, there's been requests to take salvage yards to include that in our zoning code. That goes.
Hand up here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, council from the little microphones.
I saw that. Who said, I didn't know how I needed to be, so I'm well.
Stay close to the mic, mostly.
Well, distinguished commissioners and just kidding. Just joking. So the salvage yards, those are going to our planning commission this evening. And then that actually goes on to city council on the 25th. That had been some requests on our north side of town, which has kind of been a little bit of a issue with the annexations and things like that. And it's also in our area of impact. So that's why we're requesting to take that before the city council and planning commission. You may or may not be aware, but this is just more for internal. Mike Kirkham has been called up to be a judge. And so we will, the mayor has stated that we will hire a new attorney before the election season is over. But just for anyone's knowledge, Zach Jones will be our interim city attorney until
Is he in the office now?
he's in the office now currently. Yeah. So he'll be the interim for until we find a new city attorney. We're excited for Mike. There's a big going away party internally actually going on here in about 15 minutes. So and then the last thing I wanted to bring up is we are looking at changing some things with our impact fee ordinance. We are looking to, from our impact fee advisory committee, they have requested that we start assessing impact fees by square footage. So we are looking at that heavily. That is going through more input. We're seeing that will probably be changed in probably in the next month or two. So just so you're aware of, initially it was just an assessed fee by use. And now we're looking to go to square footage. That was the input that we had from our impact fee consultant at Boise. So we tried to get input on that. We've got input from the East Idaho Home Builders Association and from other people in the development community on that. So just so you're aware, doesn't really impact you, no pun intended, but just so you know, some changes that we're looking at.
I know, is that based on the footprint square footage or the total building square footage or the land square footage?
So it'd be the footprint square footage. The request is that,
So like your footprint is this, and they go like this, is that go up, and the impact.
so I see what you're asking.
Yes.
So that would be the building square footage then in that aspect. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, they had requested, there is a compromise that we came to with that. They had requested that unfinished basements and garages be excluded. But that is the middle ground that the city council has given us direction on, is that we would include unfinished basements, but exclude garages. So we're still working through some of that, but that would be how the impact fee gets assessed from here on out. But
Okay, so how do you figure underground garages?
So that's a good question. Yeah, you're asking very good questions, Commissioner Walker. So in terms of garage, we have it in our definitions. So if it's, if it's underground, we just have it for the storage of vehicles. And then we also have the internal, if it's has internal heating is actually one of the requirements to be assessed. So it just depends on how it's constructed in that aspect. Yeah. Very good questions. Very good questions.
Yeah, I would say that you would consider them enhanced.
Oh, sometimes I'm on par, but
We appreciate you.
oh, no problem. Happy to be there. If there's anything you need from especially CDS or even a city that I can take back, just let me know. And we appreciate staff as always. They've been very good to work with us. So thank you.
Anything else?
I don't have anything else.